Hello, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good day, anywhere you may be watching this. I welcome you to a new episode of Through It All. Through It All, like I say every Thursday, is all about giving people hope. It's all about encouragement. It's all about letting you know that there's nothing you are going through at the moment that is not common to man, that others have not also experienced. And yeah, they've experienced it and they have moved on from it. At a point, it was looking like, oh, would this thing ever end? Would it always be like this? But for a lot of people now, those things they thought would never end is now a story. It's now what they keep telling people. Oh, I can remember so 5 years ago, what happened to me? But that 5 years ago was like, this is the end. All right. It's just to let you know that whatever you are going through, this is not the end. You're going to get out of it. And in some days, weeks, months ahead, even years, you'll be sharing your testimony and your story all over the place that I was once blind, I was once in terrible debt, I was once so terribly sick, I was going through trauma, but now the Lord is making me even to be comforting others all over the place. I pray that will be your testimony, and that's what Through It All is all about. And of course, if you are joining us for the first time, the name of the program was derived from my book, Through It All. I wrote this book to capture my own story also, all the troubles, all the hardships, all the traumas I've been through in life. I've been through it all. But today, it's all become stories. All right. So if you're interested in the book, just visit tia.com.ng or Roving Heights, or you can also go on Amazon and just search for Through It All by Kola Olugbodi. You'll be so blessed reading this book. The testimonies that and feedback I get from people that have read it is so humbling, and I'm so sure you'll be so blessed also. All right. And of course, let me say Happy New Month to us also. This month of August is a special month to me. August 6th is my birthday. All right. All right. So in this month of August, the Lord will give us peace. Will give us peace. And the word that dropped in my heart is that rejoice. And again, I say rejoice. No matter what you are going through, rejoice, because it's not ending that way. The Bible says, be anxious for nothing, but in all things by prayer, supplication, and with thanksgiving. Just apply thanksgiving to that matter. You have been anxious about it, you have been troubled about it, you have been disturbed about it, you've actually journeyed with that matter this far in 2023. This August, don't start banging your head against the doors of heaven. Just apply phrases. Begin to thank God for it. Walk by faith. Walk by faith. Faith is the substance of what we are hoping for. The Bible says, whatsoever you desire, believe when you pray, believe you have received, then you shall have it. So you have been praying all this while. From now on, you need to switch to the point of believing that you have received. And if you believe you have received, what ought you to be doing now? Begin to thank God, begin to bless God, begin to praise God, begin to let people ask you, what's the matter, and tell them what I prayed to God for. He has done it, and I'm waiting for the manifestation. So I'm rejoicing and dancing. I tell you, this month won't be over, and it will come to fulfillment as the Lord lives. All right. So welcome again to Through It All. So my guest today, she's already in-house. She's a very wonderful, wonderful sister that we both come back, I mean, from way back. We're together in the university in the 80s. We're in the same fellowship. We were a little bit troublesome. I was troublesome then, so I ended up in drama. She is a quiet one, but of course, when she's singing in the choir, you will always note her voice. All right. So my guest today is Kikelomo Adebiyi. Like I said, we are both come from very way back, and I'll try and give you a profile now. She's a trauma-informed care coach and a Christian counselor with over 20 years experience of working with women who have suffered traumatic experiences. All right, so it's another way of talking about through it all. She's also the director of Mending Hearts Consulting and the co-founder of Rafa Nurturing Academy. My dear sister is also an author of 2 books. We'll try and talk about those books in the course of our discussion this evening. She's an ordained pastor and happily married to Pastor Gbenga Adebiyi. They are blessed with 3 wonderful children and a grandson. She became a grandmom not too long ago. I think I've been blessed with grandmoms and grandpas in the last 2 episodes of Through It All. All right, so she resides in UK with her family, and it's with the joy of the Lord that I welcome her to the screen. Sister Kike, so nice to have you tonight. How are
My
you?
pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow. So nice to see
I'm
your
really
face
blessed.
after how many years? Of course.
Over definitely 3 decades or
Yes,
thereabout.
actually, it's over 30 years.
Yeah.
We've not met physically, but um, she, her Instagram handle is very busy. She's always encouraging people and telling people about the gospel of Christ. If anytime you go on Instagram, visit her handle. You will tell me about the handle, Kikelomo something something, so I won't mix it up.
Kikelomo 51. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you see that on the screen. So you can always follow her, and you'll be so glad that you actually do so. All right, so Kike, nice to have you on Through It All tonight.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well,
Good evening.
welcome.
And good evening, everyone.
I follow you so regularly, at least on Instagram.
Oh, thank you.
I think a recent post that you made was what just triggered that. Oh, okay. Kike had not been on Through It All. And she was the one that introduced one of the powerful episodes the guest I had then on one of the powerful episodes of Through It All. So it's your turn tonight.
Oh,
All right.
thank God.
Okay. So on Through It All, I always love hearing stories. Love hearing stories of the goodness of God in spite of all the challenges. So let me hear your story. At least 30 years, we need to catch up.
Yes, catching up time.
So let's start from Genesis. How has it been stuck again?
Wonderful. I just want to thank God. Yes, the Lord has been faithful. Yes, it's not without its challenges we all go through. It's part of our journey, it's part of the process, and it's those challenges that make us who we are today. So when you're going through, of course, you don't realize that. You're like, what's the meaning of all this? What chapter of my journey am I on?
Yeah.
You know. But when you get to the other side, you get to see that God had it all worked out. He allows it. He didn't cause it, but he allows them to happen for a purpose, you know. So yes, like you have been through, I've been through as well, right from my youth. Yes.
Wow.
So yeah.
Right. So let's go into those things you've been through, and then we now get to the point where what led you to be talking about trauma and
Yeah.
really handling people that have gone through traumatic experiences. All right.
Okay.
And most times I always know that it's something that maybe we have experienced or somebody close to us have experienced that always lead us to say, oh, think so let's see, let's take it out.
Yes. Thank you so much for this opportunity because I don't take it for granted. I want to say a big thank you for
Welcome.
granting me audience this evening. So who is Kikelomo Adebiyi? Kikelomo Adebiyi is a child of God, number one. And you've done the introduction, that's fine. But I was born in the United Kingdom almost 58 years ago. And then my parents were students. They came here to the United Kingdom to study. And along the way, they had me. And like many of the parents in the 60s, who, they wanted to concentrate on their studies, and at some point, they sent their children back to their home countries. So for me, it was Nigeria. I had never visited Nigeria. So when I was about 5, 6, I went in the company of, a family, my cousins, my aunts and her children. And so it was in Ondo State, Nigeria, that I lived, with them. So I think everything went well until one day I was taken to, I don't know whether to call it a maternity home or where, I don't know. And that was where the first shocker came to me. I had to go through FGM, female genital mutilation. And I was about 5, 6 then. So I was not a baby. Usually they do it on babies. But this was done when I was about 5 or 6 years old. So I could really, really remember the traumatic experience. The pain, nothing was explained to me. I didn't understand what it was all about, but it had to be done according to them. And I went through that. So that was the first of my trauma, as a child, So I continued living with my cousins, my aunts, and her husband. And along the way, my dad, he finished his studies, he came, he traveled to Nigeria, and of course, I reunited with him again. And my younger sister, and he settled, got a job in Lagos, and I lived with him. He brought my grandmother at the time. She was alive, and so she was the one taking care of myself and my younger sister. Not long after that, a nephew of my dad joined us. And that was where another traumatic experience occurred when I started going through. He was molesting me as a child. So this went on for quite a while. And that was where things turned for me. I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't tell anyone. I mean, this is a London girl who doesn't speak Yoruba. I barely could communicate with my grandmother. So I could only communicate in English. And even at that, as a child, I didn't have words for what was going on. I couldn't explain it. I knew it was a horrible thing. I knew I wasn't happy. I knew I was, even to my dad, I couldn't even say anything, And because our parents, the background we come from, our parents are strict, and it's like, who will believe you? Who will you talk to, about whatever is going on in your life? So I endured it. Going to school was more of a pleasure than anything else, because you're getting away from, whatever is going on. So it affected my studies, it affected my confidence, it knocked off everything. I wasn't doing well. My parents didn't understand this, and I couldn't blame them, because along the way, my mom finished her studies in the United Kingdom and joined the family. And she was concerned about my academics. She saw that I was lagging behind. She was doing everything as a mother that she should do, asking questions. But my mom too was a very strict woman, like every other African woman would be mother. But I did it, and because of my nature, I'm naturally quiet and then very gentle. So I didn't say anything. So whatever they say about me, I just took it like, well, that's it. So I never said anything about the abuse. So that went on for some time until I just noticed that this guy left. But I know that there was a time that when I would say it was coming to a tail end, or will I say it stopped in a sense. There was a day this guy called me and said, "Oh, I want you to come to my room, and I want to show you, your homework." I knew where that was going, because that's usually the pattern in some if people are around. On that fateful day, he said to me, "Go and bring your books, and all that." So while I sat at the edge of the bed, and I knew what the next step would be, I didn't know where the boldness came from. I remember vividly that I just packed the books and I threw them at his face and ran out of the room. It was that was I would say, step one deliverance for me. But the damage had been done and the effect was still there, until, it's when I grew and I became older that I understood what happened to me, what it was all about, and of course, that's when the anger and the pain and the way you feel, starts to well up within you. So of course, I went through the shame of it. I went through the anger. I went through not trusting adults, not trusting, growing up in that mindset, of not trusting. I thank God that along the way, when I went to secondary school, I went to Queen's College, Yaba. But before then, I went to Christ School, Adebiyi. Christ School is a Christian school. And of course, we sing hymns about Christ and all that, but I wasn't born again. It was when, because I was sickly, I was always sick when I was in Adebiyi. So my mom said she transferred me to Queen's College. So I completed my education in Queen's College, Lagos. So it was there that I came in contact, I came to know Christ. I was exposed to the gospel. I remember that there were some adults that would come from maybe like Redeemed. And we had adults who came to Queen's College then, to take us in Bible study, and there was a time, there was the annual convention of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. This was in Ebutemeta then. Okay. So I followed them, the students just on that program, the events. And I remember that was when I can remember I really gave my life to Christ. So I must have been around 13, 14 when I gave my life to Christ. So it was that journey of knowing Christ bit by bit that exposed me to the issue of forgiveness and I would say the healing journey began. Not in its totality, because there was still the damage of lack of confidence was still there. I was still not doing well in school. It's like I just didn't know what it was. I couldn't bring myself to connect with studies, or it was like there was something wrong. Emotionally I was hurting. Emotionally I was, and I couldn't explain it. I remember that my mom was worried. She would always say, you, this girl, what's wrong with you, this and that, and I couldn't tell her. Wow. Because when your cousin or your uncle, whoever, that's the thing about abuse with children. And especially with Africa, we don't take it the way in the Western world it's been taken, where the mother will march to the maybe police station or call Childline or any of those charities out there to report the abuse, irrespective of who it may be. But in those days, I'm so glad that things have changed in Africa now and in Nigeria. I'm so happy about that. But in those days, these are things you don't even talk about it. You don't even have the words for it. For me, I didn't have the words for it. I didn't know what it meant until I started growing up and I became a teenager. And then, so even at that, I didn't tell anybody. I never sat my friends down to say, you know what, when I was growing up, this happened to me. I still kept it within me. So I went through, the years of silence about it. And so, it wasn't helpful at all. So that went on, and went to secondary school, finished secondary school, of course, went to university. But of course, before I got to even the university, I had to do some remedial classes and all, because as I told you, I was struggling academically. Went to university, it was much better. It started getting better, but I never told any. I think I only told one friend. She was much older than myself, and I saw her as a big sister. Who she finished from Ife, but I didn't meet her in Ife. So she was the only one I can remember that I ever told about that. And then she made me feel okay. She spoke with me to me nicely and all that. And that was the only time I ever told anyone. And that must have been more than 20 years, or no, well, maybe close to 15 years that it happened at the time. Moving on, I went to serve, of course, usually we say to ourselves, when you're in Ife in those days, no bro has showed up, so for me, there was nothing like that, and maybe, of course, one would desire it, that, Lord, who am I going to marry and all that. But at the same time, when you look at where you're coming from, you have your criteria of the type of person this person should be. You want to make sure that you're ticking the right boxes. This person ticks your boxes, and if you remember, in those days, we used to have seminars about marriage and all that. And that really helped me, because of where I'm coming from. It kind of changed my mindset about men, because, when you go through abuse, your mindset changes about who men are. You want to see them as beasts. You want to see them as horrible. You want to see them, you label them, you stereotype, see, and that is the damage that it can do. You go through nightmares, you go through flashbacks. There's so many things that you go through that you can't talk to people about. Sometimes you could sit down and you're startled because what has happened in the past. Something, you can even be watching a film and something will trigger it, and you're living in the shadow of the past. So I went through all those, things. Thank God I met the love of my life. And I met him in Ife, but we were just friends. Nothing happened. And of course, until he popped the question after I finished university, he had started working, and then, like every other person, you first say no, let me go and pray. So I went through that phase as well. And when God gave me the signal that this is the person that you're going to marry, I rejected him. In fact, for over a year, I didn't even go near it. So, but he waited patiently. He knew what he had heard. You know, you brothers, you do your praying very well, especially in those days in sports center, where you would go and pray. But he had done his own work. He had prayed. He knew, and so we eventually got married in 1995, and in my marriage, I now saw another dimension of the things I had been through play out in my relationship. I would say in a sense, I was able to manage some, and some I was not able to manage because I didn't know what to do. Like not wanting to be touched at sometimes, or not wanting to talk, or you ask in ways that even yourself you're asking questions about yourself, that what was all that for? Why did you do it that way? So, but coming to the United Kingdom was one of the best things, after coming back after a long time, being exposed to the culture here, and getting help through rightful education and exposure. I then understood properly what had happened to me, how it had happened, and I started getting my healing. And I thank God for the church. I'm still in that church. I'm still a pastor. I'm a pastor in that church, which is the Redeemed Christian Church of God, one of the branches here in London. And my pastor is Pastor Ralph Olurotimi, and he's a believer in education and making sure that people are grounded in the word, and exposed to the right materials. He's also a prolific reader himself, so always introduce different kind of books. And so, but by nature, I love reading. So I also developed more reading. So I started buying books, started attending seminars, and the walls started coming down. Even though I was doing that, I also had to have a willingness to open my heart to allow the Lord to heal me. So, and I noticed that along the way, I always had an attraction to women who were suffering, who had been through traumatic life experiences. And naturally, they gravitated towards me. They would come, tell me their problems. And because I've been there before, I started understanding more. And I educated myself, did more studies, got certified as a coach, did, certification, as a trauma coach. And I took it further. And the same thing with my counseling skills, started developing them. And here I am. So along the way, I started with a sister friend of mine. The Lord just brought us together divinely, connected us, and we co-founded Rafa Nurturing Academy, which is an online school, but it's for women who have been through traumatic life experiences. We give them psychoeducation, on wellness, their mental health, different things. And one of our popular courses is positioning yourself for inner healing. It's a 4 weeks course. Sometimes we run it for 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks. We do it on a Saturday on Zoom. And over the last 2 years, maybe 1 year, we've been fortunate to be able to get government funding to run the course at the scale that we want. But when we don't get that support, we charge. But what we charge is nothing compared to what we know our counterparts who run the same course or something near it are charging, because our heart is more of getting these women, healed, recover, their journey to recovery, should be smooth, and for them to come out of the pain, because you see many people on the streets, with a nice makeup, but you don't know what's going on underneath, So that the Rafa Nurturing Academy is about 2 years now, going on 2 years. And it's waxing stronger. And we have a course coming up, a workshop, child sexual abuse and its effects, So this is part of from the pain of yesterday that has come out, and what every woman needs to know. So what every mother needs to know. So it's a campaign to the mothers, because there's a place where a mother needs to be on the guard if they are around. And also, I believe that there's a way you need to develop a relationship with your child, that if anything is going wrong, that child should have the confidence to come and meet you to say, Mom, I don't know the name for it, but this is what is happening. And the mom will, with the right intelligence, tackle, the matter in a way that, the child is not hurt, because you have to be careful if the perpetrator is still around. And usually they are the people closest to you, and knowing what to do. So that has been my journey. And in the course of my journey, here in the United Kingdom, I had my first daughter in Nigeria. She's the one that is married now, and, she has a son. And my other 2 children are, they're adults too, and they're working, they're doing well in their fields. So that's me. And I'm still together by the grace of God with my wonderful husband, who has been very supportive. When we got engaged, the first thing I did was, whilst talking about ourselves and getting to know ourselves, I was able to open up to him. And I thank God for the man of God that he is, that he understood, maybe not in totality, but he never puts me down. He never does that. He has never put me down, but he's been the greatest supporter of what I do today. He believes in what I do, and he encourages me, in what I do. So if God had not given me a man who understood my, where I'm coming from, I don't think I'll be here today, and I don't think there'll be much I will have to say. But he's been the one helping, supporting, giving advice, tips here and there where he needs to, and for that I'm eternally grateful to God for giving the man that I needed in my life, not what I wanted, but what I needed, the man I need. There are 2 different things, you may want something and it may not be the right one for you, but God gives you what you need, the right person that the 2 of you will work together. So, and that's what God has done for me. So it's been an up and down journey, not been the best, but it's been an adventure with Jesus.
In all things, we give praise to God.
Hallelujah.
Give praise to God. And I was just trying to think back to those days when Ife, I knew those very quiet sisters in the fellowship, easygoing and everything. And something will tell you, oh, okay, Sister Kike doesn't know life, it's just like, so you're not saying this, there's a way you just say, oh, all right. And it's just making me to think about other children. So there are children in church, children all over the place. And one would just assume, oh, okay, she's still a small girl, more especially the ladies. Especially the ladies, oh, she's a small girl. Oh, all right, she doesn't even know anything. So now I'm still going to ask you to talk to people out there really that have suffered abuse, especially the ladies, the young girls out there. Also, some very terrible uncles or cousins that will keep threatening. If you say anything, I mean, I was a young girl that said she was threatened, if you tell anyone, your mother will die.
Yeah, that's the thing, and you said uncles. Let me shock you, even fathers are doing it to their children. Fathers doing it. In fact, I have a case on hand that um, I'm running with somebody. It's the father, in Nigeria, and I have a very close friend who was also a victim. It was her father from the age of 5 till she was about 23. Yes. So it's happening, and this is in Africa, this is Nigeria, not even far-fetched. It's happening everywhere. It happens everywhere. But it's not just the uncles, even the fathers are guilty. The grandfathers, I know cases of, yes, grandfathers. Wow. Even mothers abusing, yes, and it's not just the girls that it's happening, but even the men to go through. I mean, I've had a client, a man that, I mean, a young adult, I would say a young adult who, he went through it, and it's messed him up big time, and he was exposed to it through the house help that the parents had, or was it their neighbors' house help? Okay. So it happens, not just with the girl, but it's just that with the women, it has a more damaging effect with the ladies, in their relationship. You find that if it's not resolved, they can't have a happy home. In most cases, the people that do go through, go through domestic abuse or have divorce, many of them have history of childhood abuse, sexual abuse. So it's a big thing. It's a big thing that needs to be dealt with, and people need to have compassion. I had, funny enough, I was interviewed on another platform earlier today, and someone said, when I was narrating my story, and someone said, "Oh, why didn't you disclose it? Was it that you were enjoying it and you didn't want to tell your mom or tell somebody else?" And I just had to make that person at that time. It's not now that we've empowered our children to an extent. The children of nowadays are more vocal than when we were vocal. In our days, your parents can't sit in the living room and you sit down.
You sit down.
Or they're talking, two adults are talking, and you now contribute into that discussion. It's not going to happen. You're going to see the repercussion of that. And when the visitor goes, the next question is, who called you into that conversation? And you get the beating of your life, So there are homes where it was law, and you don't cross your boundaries. So in such an environment, it's difficult for the child to want to come to you and say, "Mommy this, mommy that," or "Daddy this, daddy that," And what if it's the daddy that is doing it? How do you tell your mom? So in fact, one of my friends also said that she got, it was a neighbor that even molested her when she was 5, and she even told her mom. And you know what the mom said? "You caused it. You were the one that it was your fault." And she got.
I think it's always the weaknesses of mothers that make them do that. Either their weaknesses or guilt that I wasn't really there enough for my daughter. Of course, I heard of another case that the daughter actually told her mother and said, "See what this uncle is doing." And it was the mother that was saying, "Don't say it out. Don't say it out." I mean, there'll be a stigma on you. People call you names. People.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, and of course, the mother was, I don't know what to call it. She could not even confront the guy. Even if your daughter is not going to say it out, you need to confront the guy. She could not confront.
Exactly.
So the guy at the point felt, "Oh, this young lady have reported me."
Yeah.
And he was expecting the mother to come to at least
To
react.
at least confront him. Yeah.
There was no confrontation. The woman will still greet him as if nothing happened.
You see, so how
Unfortunately, the guy continued
you see?
the girl.
Uh-huh.
So 2 things I want you to talk about, Sister Kike. I'm really passionate and concerned about young girls, girls out there, whether in Nigeria or UK, any part of the world, that are being abused.
Yes.
Yet they can't find their voice to tell anyone. What are they supposed to do?
You see, it's unfortunate. I don't know. We need a system where, where these girls can be heard, in the sense that, the kind of system I'm talking about, it's not just a structure in terms of building that they can run to. That is one, but also, who do they talk to? Like you find that in some countries, like they have private chat lines, or that, even children as young as 5 can call, and they will not disclose it to anybody. Whoever is on the other end will not disclose who has made that call, or report those children, but would treat it confidentially and help that child get out of that situation. We need such systems in our African countries, Nigeria, for instance. So it's good that we're having all these human rights, people advocating for these kind of situations, and being on the forefront of campaigning against childhood sexual abuse, or childhood trauma, neglect and all that. It's good, but we need to take it a step further, and we need more people, that will be there to help them. Let there be structures in place, of people that can help these girls. So how do you empower them? What tools are we giving them, to make sure that they are able to do something when they're in danger? So where do they run to? Do they have a number that they can call? How confidential is that number? And how soon can they get the help? So those are the kind of things we need to be thinking of. And also, we need clinics, maybe like trauma clinics, in places where people can go there. Maybe they will have counselors, volunteers that have been trained, and they can go and have someone to talk to, or to listen to them, and also to pull them out of that situation. Because I know the case of a girl that, she ran away from home because her father was the one molesting her. The father found her wherever she went, brought her home, and continued molesting her. You see, so it's not a nice situation. So we need a place for these people. We need a place for these girls, these young children. You don't want them to go back to that situation. You don't, or to that house where they've been. There's no point, We're not saying that maybe the father or the parents, should when we're denying them, but that thing must be cut off, and then the parents need to be brought to book, especially if it's the father. What's the rationale behind that? Is it the culture? Is it the system? Or is it just...
I don't think that's even... I don't think that is acceptable or accepted in any culture.
Exactly, in any culture, it shouldn't be anything that should be accepted.
It's an abomination, actually.
Such men need to be, retrained to learn and unlearn some things, and they need to go through maybe some classes to make them understand the evil behind, molesting their children. So where is that? I don't know whether it could be a generational thing. It could be something handed down generationally, from a particular family, and then maybe that father too grew up knowing that and decided to continue with their own children. So it will be a pattern that needs to be stopped at some point. So until we have that some structures in place, it will continue. It will continue. But it's good that at least there's a point where people now understand that if anybody is caught, they actually do something about it. At least I've seen, read one or two, I mean, a few cases in Nigeria where that is happening. And that's really, really heartwarming to know that that is.
All right.
Yeah. So, but it's still not, Nigeria is is a big country. So the people who are doing it, or the organizations, that may not be enough. We still need more people advocating, for and speaking out on behalf of these girls. So it's because of the lasting effects, not just the fact that they are children, let's rescue the children, but let's be looking at the bigger picture. What is the effect on our society? What effect does this have on marriages? Because it's these children become mothers and fathers, so they form their own families, which make up the population, makes up the nation, and the kind of mindset that is in that particular community or in that area. So if that is not cleansed, we have a problem.
Wow. You're very right, Mr. Kike. And I actually think our children, we need to start training them very early in life.
And that's one. Yes, that's true.
Making them aware of the fact that not everybody can touch any part of
Exactly.
Yeah, I know there are some organizations going about to really educate children. What any stranger can touch on their body.
Not even strangers, anybody.
Yeah. And I think parents, more especially mothers, they need to take this thing very seriously.
Exactly.
They really need to take it very, very seriously.
Absolutely.
I understand that we are in a day that everybody is trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
Place. So parents just come late in the night, maybe a place like Nigeria. They come in fact out, so nobody won't have time to sit down with the kid to say, all right, come, let's gist. What happened today? Did anything go wrong? I think parents need to start doing so much of this now.
Yes, it starts with our relationship. Exactly. Having a one-to-one relationship, not wait until things happen before you try to befriend your child. Yes, I believe there should be a point of parenting and a place of being friends. Some people say, oh, you shouldn't be your child's friend. You are her parent. Agreed. No, some people say that. I've heard it, where but I tend to disagree. You can be both a friend and also your parent, where you are the person that if anything happens to your child, they can talk to you. My children can talk to me. There's nothing they can't talk to me about unless they feel, oh, if I tell mommy will be too upset. But if it's like, oh, they need counsel or they need someone to talk to, they open up, and I'm able to, handle it in a matured way by the grace of God, in a way that, if it's something that they've done wrong, I know how to correct them in love. And if it's something that I really need to put my feet down and I do what I need to do. So, but that doesn't mean it's the way we handle it that makes them come closer or run away, and many families are losing their children because of the way we relate to them. They will go and confide in someone outside. They will take it out, and you don't know the spirit in that person. How is that person counseling them? Is the person telling them there's nothing, it's not a big deal, it's all right, it's normal. This is the world we live in now, where what we used to see as bad has become good, and what is good now they're calling it bad. So that's the world we live in now. So as a parent, we need to be on top of our game, making sure that we educate and point our children in the right direction. Let them, be able to talk to us, make it easy for them to come to you. Don't be the one that will shout on them. And, a child is going through their normal cycle. for the first time, how are you educating that child? You know, what education are you giving? But in our days, you see some parents, once the child starts their cycle, they start to shy. Now that you have started your period, if you go near any boy, if you go and you get pregnant, you will see what I would do. And then the child is crying, wondering that, hey, I know someone that told me that the moment her mom told her that, any boy that, even just to say hello, she thought pregnancy would fall on her, just like that.
Wow.
You know, because that was the way, that was sex education. You shout on the child and say, now that you started your period, if I see any pregnancy, hey, you're dead, you know. But
very crude sex education. Wow, 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 wow. You know, I'm trying to see other ways we can really handle this matter. And of course, maybe my concern now is for people that have really been abused, molested when they were young, and still going through the grief, the anger, the
pain and the loss.
And then some of them look at themselves as if it was me, you know, and they disdain themselves. There is that hatred for themselves. Yes, and then when the God side is brought in, they feel I was the one that committed a sin against God. You know, and they go with that pain. That's, wow.
Yeah, but in reality, the shame is the way the perpetrator makes, you know, when you sit down and you think about it. But the shame is actually not because it's not your fault. And I'm saying this to
many don't know that actually.
I want you to know that it's not your fault. If you've ever been through that, you were forced, you were coerced. It was never your fault, you know. And the shame, you shouldn't be take the shame to say it's your shame. No, don't own that shame. It's not your shame. See, and you don't have a sense of guilt, you know, that this happened. Yes, it's painful that it happened, but it wasn't under your own, you know, your own consent. You did not consent to it. See, so how do you? Another case I know, the person was gang raped. So what is the offense of this person? The person went in a taxi. Just, oh, let me go to Ikoyi. The next thing she knew, okay, it was in those days where, you know, you can have 3 or 4 people, not now that you can hire by yourself. And, you know, Uber takes you there. But this was during the days of, they'll take you and then they can still take maybe like 2 or 3 other people. And the next thing, she didn't even know what was going on. She didn't know it was an arranged thing. And where she knew that she was supposed to be going, the taxi veered off and she was driven to an uncompleted building and the gang raped her. So what's the offense of this person? So this person can't take that shame. It's the shame of the other people, but it's still painful that she had to go through that. So it's and one of the things we do when we have these courses, you know, we talk about shame, we talk about dealing with these things, you know. We really go into, that's why it's about 4 weeks, you know. We talk about it because these are things that come with it. Low self-esteem, you know, low confidence. It's knocked off, you know. Even when you have all the skills, you know, you still don't believe in yourself. You want to be validated because you feel you need to please somebody, or somebody needs to say something positive to you before you believe in yourself. So these are things that come with this type of, you know, abuse. Yes.
You know, now we need to start wrapping it up.
Okay.
But one of the things I've also realized is that there are quite a number of ladies out there that are not married now, and they can't marry because of those things that happened when they were young.
Okay.
You know, that phobia is there, like you rightly said, that
Yeah.
all are beasts. Oh, what that uncle did when I was young.
Yes.
That is the way they all behave. And
Mm.
so, yes, when you see them, I mean, being in their late 30s and 40s and everything, and everybody saying, are you not seeing a guy? But
Mm.
nobody is actually asking beyond that.
Mm.
And they also have not even been saying anything to anyone,
Mm.
you know. So I wanted to talk to such ladies out there,
Okay.
in their 30s, in their 40s.
Mm.
The only thing that is like a phobia for marriage,
Mm.
the fact that somebody abused them when they were young, what should they do?
I would say to anyone in that category, number one, as I said earlier, don't beat yourself up. Don't put yourself down, thinking that, look, this happened to me, so this is the end of my life. No. And don't sweep it under the carpet either. I will also advise that you see a therapist or a counselor and be open. Say it as it is. See, because they have the tools and they can guide you in coming out of, that pain and holding your hand and in helping you to heal. Because healing is a process. But what is important in the healing journey is your consent. If you do not allow yourself to be healed or to come to that place of healing, it won't happen. So you need to be willing to heal, you see. So you can go through all the therapy classes. If in your heart you're still holding back or you're not forgiving, maybe the person the perpetrator, you find it difficult to forgive, then you're not going to move forward. In some instances, some people can forgive others, but they don't forgive themselves. So that's another barrier. So we have what we call self-forgiveness as well, where you keep putting yourself down, you keep blaming yourself, you keep seeing yourself as the bad person. So even when people say nice things to you, you're always seeing yourself in the opposite. So that person will have work to do on themselves. But it's nice to walk alongside a therapist so that they can hold your hand and guide you through. So that is really, really important. Yeah.
Thank you so much for really, for sharing that. Yes, your books. I think those books are they on trauma
Yes.
therapy?
No, the one
Oh,
on trauma is coming out soon.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm actually in the process of writing to help people turning their trauma into triumph, turning it around. Like you have done a beautiful job in turning your trauma around, and see your success story today. It's so I have your book, so I've read it, and I can say that it's a book. Even my husband has read your book. So we both look at it that wow, this is really, really amazing. It's encouraging, and it's inspiring. Thank God for your life. So my books, the first one is You Can Make a Difference. It just guides people on how to make a difference, how to encourage somebody in their journey, and that one you can buy that on Amazon. Now, the other one, The Place of Your Emotions in Choosing a Life Partner, that one is also on Amazon, but it's best to buy it on Lulu, on Lulu. Yeah, so I have that one on Lulu. So that one talks about not allowing your emotions to be the sole factor in choosing a life partner. You see, some people, they just see someone, love at first sight, and that goes pear-shaped along the way, and then they start regretting that they're hooked to this person. and yet they barely knew this person. It was just infatuation. They allowed their emotions to be guided. They were guided by their emotions. So the place of your emotions in choosing a life partner. So that's what that is. But that will soon be going under a second edition soon. Well, people can still buy it anyway from Lulu. Yeah. So those two books, they're out there in the market. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Kike. I mean, it's been a full episode. I never knew it was going to go this way.
Never knew myself. I'm looking at the time. I'm like, whoa.
Wow. All right. So before I let you go, help me tell people out there that have not read through it all, one or two things that you picked from the book that you know is going to help somebody out there.
I know it's been a while, but one of the things I really that really gave me so much encouragement in that book, and I was like, wow, when I read the book. Funny enough, it was the parts of your wife, how she held on,
Hmm.
when you got married and things were not working out. You were trying all the businesses were not all working out. But on your part, I see resilience. You see, so if you're someone out there and you give up easily, this book is for you. And you feel, you're also a woman, you're married, and you feel this man is not, he doesn't have ambition. Things are not working for him. Let me take my load. No, you need to hang in there. It might be that it's the next attempt you will make that will bring the breakthrough.
Exactly.
So be that encouragement to your man. Don't leave him. Don't abandon him halfway. The fact that it's failing and it's not succeeding doesn't mean that he doesn't have a call on his life. Things are not, it might even be a test to see how he can handle things, situations, pressure, So that book is packed full of lessons. Those ones that stood out for me personally. The fact that, the time I remember a part of the story, but I remember very well. Well, you were eating food and it's the omiobe, the stew was so and as Sister Tony was said, she was eating it, tears were dropping down her, So it did, and it's so real. You guys didn't polish it so that people can see as it is that these things are real. So when they see you today, by the grace of God, God has been gracious to you. Maybe you're driving a nice car, you have an answer, not understanding where you're coming from and wanting to strive to be like you. It's nice to emulate good things, but are you able to drink of their cup?
Exactly.
The cup of suffering, are you able to drink of it? So that's another entirely. But I give God the glory. Please, that book you need to get a copy today. It will bless your life. It will change your perspective to life, in a positive way. It's a fantastic book. I would recommend it any day.
Thank you so much, Sister Kike. I really appreciate what you just
welcome.
said. It's really been nice having you on this program.
Thanks for having me.
I want to say thank you to Pastor Benga also for allowing you to really come on the program. And for being a very wonderful husband. It's obvious that is God sent. And
yes.
the Lord will continue to bless the two of you together. And your grandchild, the Lord's hand will rest upon him, her.
Him.
Him. Okay. All right. So my regards to your daughter.
Thank you very much.
Her also. So thank you, Kike. It's really been nice having you here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
I have a feeling some people may want to connect with you after watching this. If you don't mind, I can always get their contact and
that's fine.
Link them up with you. Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's
thank
fine.
so much. Thank you so
for
much.
having me, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to share my story and to
The
be a
pleasure
blessing.
is mine. The pleasure is mine. Epele, thank you so much, my sister.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody out there. Thank you for being a part of tonight's Through It All. I hope you have been blessed. I hope you have learned one lesson or the other. One key thing I've learned from what my sister had said is that very, very, very vital role of, parenthood, and the parents should be there for their children. Why should you say, yes, I want to make the money so that their lives can be good? Yes, somebody is destroying their lives under your roof, and the same life you want to make good is already getting rotten under your roof. Under your roof. All right. So please, the days of our fathers, like my sister said, are those days that you can't even look up to the face of, look up to your dad and say, I want to talk to you, but those things have changed. I call my son Ore. Somebody had me calling him Ore. He said, you call your son Ore also? I said, yes, he's my friend now, because we talk like friends. Can tell me anything from primary school, actually. I trained him to tell me anything. We've so much gotten so close. I can say, are you crushing on anybody in your class? And parents would think, oh, they are too young. No, all those things are going on. I go that way because I knew when I also started going that way. So why do you think that if when you were in secondary school, you were already having girlfriends? So what make you think that they also, something in their mind won't be thinking along that line? You're only deceiving yourself. So you better start talking to them, not as much as they know. And they say, you are too young. No, they won't tell you another time. You understand? But be their friend and guide them. No, don't do this now. No, this one will mislead you and everything. And so the more they grow up, the more they can tell you anything. When any useless uncle touch them, whether in school or at home, they can tell you and say, I don't understand what was happening. No, that teacher in school was just touching my head, touching my back. And you should understand that as a mother, especially. And you need to go one day and say, no, maybe he was only trying to. No, there's no trying. Even if you suspect that nothing was happening, go there and confirm. You understand? So God bless you all. God bless you. Please, parents, we have people that gone through trauma. A lot of them going through a lot of therapy and everything. Let's damn it. Don't let your daughter be the next statistics. Please, let's do something about it. All right. Through It All comes up every Thursday on YouTube. If you think this video has really done you well, please like it, share it with people. And if you know anyone that was abused when she was young or at any stage of her life, please send this video to them. You would have done her a great deal of good. All right, so I'm going to come your way again next Thursday, except Jesus Christ had returned. But if he has not, I will be here next Thursday with another guest. And you uncles that have abused and destroyed other people's lives, I think it's time for you also to start begging God for forgiveness. You need to beg God for forgiveness, because God is a God of vengeance. What you did some 20 years ago, if you don't do something about it now, God will catch up with you. All right. So good night, everyone. God bless you. Have a good evening. Bye.